more complicated parts and jam them into this big space needle. Coincidentally, those parts are also the same ones you'll need to place down more advanced machines in the future. So the game basically teaches you how to progress. These upgrades that I mentioned are a huge part of factory games, as they are the rewards that you get for reaching each goal. And they feel very satisfying by making the game easier for you as you keep progressing. Eventually, you'll learn about machine ratios. These are basically the amount of machines that you need to place down so that all of your machines have 100% uptime. Sometimes these ratios aren't perfect and you'll get some crazy scary numbers, but don't feel intimidated by the complexity. This game teaches you slowly so that hopefully you don't get overwhelmed and can learn at your own pace until you hit liquids and pipes. Some people see this part as the great filter because pipes can get a little complex, but you're not there yet, so don't worry. The reason why people say this is that pipes have some hidden mechanics, like one called sloshing, that results in liquids moving erratically or not moving as you'd expect. It's worth mentioning that the developers of the game have promised that liquids are getting fixed in a future update, so this may be solved by the time you're watching this already. I hope. Anyways, one nice thing is that resources are infinite. You can plop down as many drills as you want and you never have to worry about running dry. The only problem is throughput. This is basically the amount of ores that you can drill at the same time. If you want to expand your factory, you'll have to move outwards to drill quicker and get new ores too. When you do eventually branch out to new ores, you'll meet another puzzle that factory games present, which is item transportation. You have to figure out how to move a material from point A to point B and how to move enough of it so that you can create your parts fast enough. Luckily, we're given the tools for this later on in the form of trains and drones, which are pretty cool in their own way. So, when the time comes to get out there, another side of the game emerges. And that's just running around and not even building your factory. However, this was designed to add some pause in between those sessions of brainstorming your factory, and you're heavily rewarded for it. The entire map is handcrafted and contains lots of little parkour sections and caves for you to figure out how to traverse. So exploring it is actually really fun. Not to mention, it looks beautiful. To reward your exploration, you'll find alternate recipes that make you completely rethink your factories and a bunch of exotic materials that can be used for things like free energy, duplicating
Что
items, or
творится?
even cloud storage for your items. Along your journey, you may even come across some friendly wildlife. So there is a bit of combat. But these creatures don't come after your factory or try to
Что за
destroy
самый
it,
красный?
unlike other factory games. And they can even be turned off,
Кирпич
so don't
такой
worry about
такой.
it too much. Another cool thing you can do in this game, apart from pulling out a calculator, is decorating your factories with a vast amount of customizable parts and paints. However, to unlock these cosmetics, you'll have to shred the parts that you crafted from your factory or sacrifice some of the flesh of your enemies. So you're still encouraged to go out there and do things. Out of the four games here, this one definitely has the largest range of things to do that don't even involve building your factory, so you'll rarely be sitting idle. One downside that may make you consider other factory games is the scale. I find it a little uncomfortable to be a pea-sized guy trying to make their way through a jungle of massive buildings. This is alleviated quite a bit with upgrades like the jetpack and hoverpack, and the fact that space is nearly infinite, but it doesn't change the fact that building in these constraints can be a little frustrating. Also, while the game is very well optimized, lower end systems may struggle to run it because of its graphical fidelity. Speaking of which, let's talk about Factorio. This next game is 2D and can be run on a toaster, but don't underestimate its beautiful sprites. In Factorio, you do much of the same dig resources out of the ground and use them to make a variety of items. There are a lot of differences, however, including a new mechanic called pollution that you have to manage, otherwise, you'll be run over by an angry horde of bugs. Luckily, just like Satisfactory, you can arm yourself with a revolving door of new and exciting weapons. With turrets, you can automate the bugs away and turn them into just another logistics problem. But if you ever feel like the bugs are getting out of hand, you can turn them off and play at your own leisure. Another difference is that by default, the ore patches are limited. This means that eventually you'll have to expand outwards and explore the map to get more ore. But this isn't a huge problem with trains, and if you're worried about the time limit of your ore patches, then you can make their amount higher or just use mods to make them infinite, which we'll go more into later. Unfortunately, there isn't anything handcrafted or special to explore on this map, but it is procedurally generated, so you can have a different experience every single time you play. Another massive difference between this game and Satisfactory is the ability to use logistic bots. These are handy little helpers that you can command to move items from place to place, build for you, or defend your walls. This leads me to another point, which is blueprints. In Satisfactory, you're given these tiny little boxes to build things in and prepare them for blueprinting. However, in Factorio, you can easily blueprint any existing build you want, and there are zero limits. Blueprints are really important in factory games as they make scaling up much easier, and they remove the tedium of having to build the same thing over and over again. If you want to reduce this further, there are handy modules that you can put into machines to make them faster or make them create some free materials, just like the ones in Satisfactory. These modules can really reduce the size of your factory overall. Also, looking back at the nightmare that is pipes and liquids in Satisfactory, in Factorio, the pipes are super simple and can move liquids instantly without you having to worry about sloshing or other problems. If you enjoy Factorio a lot, you can even buy the Space Age DLC, which allows you to launch off your starting planet and explore 4 new planets, each with their own unique quirks and mechanics to learn. Believe me when I say this DLC is worth its cost, as it basically doubles or triples the content in the game. For reference, my first save without the DLC was 55 hours, and then my Space Age run lasted a whopping 223 hours. As for Factorio being your very first factory game, I think that it does a good job of teaching you how things work, but the game may be more difficult to learn than Satisfactory. One reason being, you have to deal with more stressors, those being bugs and limited ore patches. Having these extra logistics problems to deal with can make it hard to focus on learning the basics and scaling up your factory. Not to mention, if you don't handle the bug problem, you can be sent back to the Stone Age and lose your base entirely. Of course, this is a bit of an exaggeration, as you can always rebuild or save some if this happens, but it can definitely be frustrating. Some more reasons that Factorio can be hard to learn are some other mechanics, such as dual lane belts, belt balancing, inserter throughput, and more that may not be intuitive and aren't a problem at all in Satisfactory. Whatever the case, this game is still great, and by all means, try it out if it looks interesting to you. While Factorio lets you explore a solar system, Dyson Sphere program takes this to the extreme and lets you traverse a galaxy to create intergalactic factories. The goal of this game is to research everything, of course, but to get there, you also have to build a giant Dyson Sphere. A Dyson Sphere is basically a set of mirrors that yoink energy from the sun, and they look really cool. This game shares a lot in common with Factorio, except that it's 3D and has some beautiful views just like Satisfactory. Now, while it is 3D, there are some restrictions on placing machines above others, so you're mostly confined to a 2D grid on the ground. However, you still get similarities like procedural generation, limited veins, logistic bots, blueprints, although they do have to be upgraded, and enemies that you have to fight. Let's talk about those enemies. In this game, it's a group called the Dark Fog, and they have some different mechanics that make them more interesting than the bugs in Factorio. Instead of being attracted to pollution, they start attacking when you generate or use electricity in your factory. When they do attack, you can put up turrets and feed them with bullets that you craft from your factory, just like Factorio. However, these guys also drop items when you kill them. Later on, you can automate this process of collecting their items and then use them in your own factories. There are even some exclusive end game machines that are the fastest in the game, which require you to farm up and kill the dark fog. Essentially, these guys become a new source of materials, just like any other drill you place down. Additionally, there are some more layers to the dark fog because they live out in space, too. If you don't peacefully evict them using giant space battleships, they will suck up the energy from your Dyson sphere and constantly send raids down to your planets. This part will be expanded in a future update, but of course, I don't recommend buying a game based on promises. Another cool thing about this game that sets it apart is the exotic materials that you can only find after warping to faraway solar systems. These can be used to drastically simplify your production chains and become required for some future tech like this really cool miner. Another thing to mention is that the item transportation is super simple. There are no trains or train networks or anything, since everything gets moved via drones. They can pass through each other and travel anywhere, provided you've upgraded them a little bit, so all you need to do is add more of them if you want to move more items. They're managed through these cool giant towers, and you can base an entire factory around one of them by having items go in and out. If you are worried about liquids, then worry not, as here, liquids act exactly as items do and go on belts somehow. Anyways, another cool feature is this handy liquid